And I'm live. That is pretty cool. Today is 2nd of March 2026, Monday. And before beginning, a quote from Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, some random quote. Okay, this one says, "Look within. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up if thou wilt ever dig." You look inside, and if you look for it, you will find goodness in yourself. Yeah, we can like think about it. And for now, let's begin this stream. And I want to like get good at CSS, or at least, if not get really, really good right now, at least get decent or have clear fundamentals in CSS. So, yep, this is the thing that I'm going to go through in today's stream. Learn CSS layout, and yep, margin, max width, box model. These things seem obvious, like in some sense, but since I do not know them, so reading about them is the natural thing to do. And yep, then this will like actually help me building very good front ends, because I want to get really, really good at making front ends. So let's begin. And yes, I could like change the theme of this thing to dark mode, but that actually looks good, but I will not do that because I think this is how it was intended to be. So yep, let's move with this. And also do not disturb. Cool. And I yep, cool. Having no layout whatsoever is almost okay if all you want is one big column of content. However, if a user makes the browser window really wide, it gets kind of annoying to read after each line. Shit makes sense, because I think the natural, yep, this is the mm, normal format for this, and this is wide. However, if a user makes the browser window really wide, it gets kind of annoying to read after each line. Your eyes have a long distance to travel from right to left, and this is very long. Right to left to the next line. Try resizing your browser to see what I mean. Before we fix this problem, let's make sure we are clear on the very important display property, whatever that is, display property. And next, cool. What is this? The display property. Okay, in CSS we have, yep, shit. In CSS, what we have is a selector, and then inside we have properties, which have property name with a like hyphen like this, and then value like this. So this is what we have in CSS. Yeah, this is it. Basically, selector, property name, and property value. Shit. Cool. So let's see. So display is a property which we can change about some element, and yep, this selector is used to select something, like some elements. It could be class ID or a class ID, and there are other selectors like group selector, hierarchy selectors, different kinds of selectors there are, and properties are just properties, and values are values those properties can have. Display is, I want to keep this in 100% ratio as it is to get what was intended. Hello, Loki. How is it? How's it going? And look at this CSS. Yep, looks very basic, but if I am struggling at CSS, I should study CSS. Display is CSS's most important property for controlling layout. Every element has a default display value depending on what type of element it is. The default for most elements is usually block or inline. A block element is often called a block level element. A block element is often called a block level element. Okay. An inline element is always just called an inline element. Okay, there are two types of things. Block thing is block. It goes like covers the whole width like this. Div is the standard block level element. A block level element starts on a new line and it stretches out to the left and right as far as it can. Other common block level elements are P, paragraph, and form. These are block level elements. And a new HTML5 and new in HTML5 are header, footer, section. These are also block level elements. Okay, that is cool. And then inline. Span is the standard inline element, which is like this. If an inline element can wrap some text inside a paragraph, without disrupting the flow of that paragraph. The A element is the most common inline element since you use them for links. Makes sense. Okay, block level elements, inline elements. Cool, nothing much. Learning oops in Python these days. Yo, oops is cool. Wait, where are you learning this from? Can you like tell me the resource? Because boot.dev, I was learning this from boot.dev. Boot.dev is cool. Learning object-oriented programming in Python using boot.dev. So this was cool. Python is cool. Python is cool for like getting to know things. Okay, inline element, and since you use them for links, cool. Block level elements, inline elements, cool. None. Another common display value is none. Some specialized elements such as script use this as their default. It is commonly used with JavaScript to hide and show elements without really deleting them or recreating them. Okay, so we can just change their display property to none so that we won't see them. We are not manipulating the DOM. We are just changing their property from whatever display it is to none. That is cool. This is different from visibility. Setting display to none will render the page as though the element does not exist. And one more thing, I should probably send this here. This is different from visibility. Setting display to none will render the page as though the element does not exist. Visibility hidden will hide the element, but the element will take up space it would if it was fully visible. Okay, there's a difference between display none and visibility hidden. Makes sense. In visibility hidden, the element, we do not see the element, but it is taking up space. In display none, it is not taking up space, and also we are not seeing the element. Cool. Other display values, there are plenty of more. This exotic display values such as list item and table. Here is an exhaustive list. We'll discuss inline and flex later on. This is an exhaustive list. None, flex, and grid. Okay, shit. Flex and grid are display properties. Yep. Flex and grid. Cool. None makes sense. Block makes sense. Inline makes sense. None makes sense. Flex and grid. Flex and grid. Yep. Cool. Okay. And extra credit, as I mentioned, every element has a display type. However, you can always override this. Though it wouldn't make sense to make an inline div, you can use this to customize the display of elements that have particular semantics. A common example is making inline li list item elements for horizontal menus. Okay, that is cool. But one more thing that I'm seeing is that they are saying P, and P means paragraph, I think, and form. Like, I don't understand the form element. So yep, I will have to look it up. Cool. Margin auto. Okay. Margin auto. So what have we seen? We have seen the display property. I think we should take kind of rough notes of what is happening here. We saw display. We should probably use Obsidian for this, but this is cool. Display could be block, inline, and why am I writing this? So that since a lot of information is going to come in, so it is like cool to write it down. Block, inline, and none, flex. And this doesn't have to just like explain everything. These notes, kind of notes if you want to call them, they just have to like index out the things that we are seeing here. Cool. And this is the only thing, the main thing that we have seen till now. Margin auto main width and this. Okay. ID, shit, yes, this is ID selector. This is ID selector. And width and margin. What is this? Is setting the width of a block level element. Setting a width. Right. Setting the width of a block level element will prevent it from stretching out to the edges of its container to the left and right. Then you can set the left and right margins to auto. I think I should also probably write this down and like practice. Hmm. Index.html makes sense. Index.html, and what do I write? Shit. HTML template. Okay, here we go. HTML viewport. Okay, our stuff will come. How do I add a script thing here? Script. Nope, not this. Dot slash index dot css. Styles dot css. Cool. And yep, I saw that this Copilot suggestion that I'm getting, it is supposed to renew in some time. Like here, Copilot features, yep, 28% done, and free responses reset in 1 day. So like for all the people who are in college, hello, when will you start? CFS streams again. I want to get really, really good at web development right now. So I'm not doing CF right now. But after this web development project is done, I think I might give some virtual contests. So that would be cool. And yep, I will like continue CF because Code Force is pretty cool. It is very fun. And yes, do you know about this? You can, if you are in college, which I think probably you are in college, you can get free Copilot and domain name and stuff like that for free, like actually. So that is cool. You can look up GitHub student developer pack and sign up for this, and you will get cool stuff from GitHub. That is cool. Uh, Here, select all. Shit, that is crazy. Okay, and how do we now like mm, serve this HTML page? First of all, let me start tmux here, and shit, we have to do some maths. 17 into 50, what would be that? So 500 or 1000, 850, 850 minus 34, 816. Okay, Cool. And one more terminal for the server. And again, some maths. For 2400, 180, 2580, 2508, 623, maybe. Okay, cool. Here we will call this one Emacs thing server, and I think we can do bun serve, npx serve or bun serve. Uh, Use bun serve index.html. I think we just do bun serve install live server. Nope. Python's built-in server. We could use Python bun. I want to see bun. How to serve bun to serve index.html. Bun server index.html. Bun index.html. Okay, shit, that just works. Run the following command in your terminal. This bun will automatically start a development server at 3000. Okay, bun index.html. Okay, shit, that does work. Okay, shit, that does work. Cool. And here, styles.css, are we able to do something? If we let's change color becomes red. Yes, color does become red, and that is cool. But I'm not getting any CSS or HTML LSP support. Let's add LSPs for them, or CSS and HTML. Or inside new help LSP config all. Okay, and here search CSS. CSS is given to us by est grep biome. Okay, this LSP for CSS and HTML. Built-in LSP provided by Microsoft, but no, there are often bundled together, made available. Okay, VS Code has its own. Okay, if we search for CSS variables, VS Code CSS variables, VS Code CSS language server. Wait, yep, VS Code CSS language server. This one is what we want. Okay, we can do this. npm I globally bun install globally VS Code language servers extracted. It also has Neum doesn't currently include built-in snippets. This only provides completions when snippet support is enabled. To enable completion, install a snippet plugin. Enable broadcasting snippet capabilities. Capabilities equals vim.lsp.protocol make client capabilities get the capabilities dot text document completion dot completion item dot snippet support equals true, and then cssls give capabilities to cssls. Okay, and copy this, paste. Okay, it is installing something. Hello, bro. Screen. Wait, shit. Screen is no. Screen is working. And this is macOS, unfortunately. It screen I think is okay. Okay, we do have these LSPs, and this has installed VS Code language server, CSS language server, and HTML language server. So we will use them. That would be cool. And how do we enable them? Go here in language server support, and here what do we do? LSP config all CSS language server, VS Code language server, and we have to copy paste this somewhere. Enable broadcasting snippets for completion, and nvim lsp config. Yep, give these capabilities, which should probably be added here. Okay, help lsp config and all CSS language server. Cool. Enable. Wait. Cool. Okay. Enable CSLS. Okay, and I think we are good. And how do we enable HTML language server? For HTML language server, we install the server from VS Code. We get the capabilities, and we set capabilities for HTML true, like this. And here we say vim.lsp.enable HTML, and I think we are good. Good to go. Cool. And we get some support. Color. We do get some support. Okay, that is very good. That is very good. That is very good. We are getting support. That is very good. This thing that we see here, this black, this is coming from Copilot, and all of these color suggestions that we see below the black, this is coming from the LSP, and we can even see that the LSP is working. LSP info, and here we see that CSLS is working. GitHub Copilot is working, and HTML is not. HTML is LSP is not working, like because we are not in a HTML file. But if we go here, does it work now? It does work now. That is just very beautiful. But we are not getting errors, so that is a downside. But it's still cool. Styles.css. Cool color is red, and let's make background color black, and this white. And what do we see in the page? Don't see anything because bun is not running. Bun index dot html. Cool. And shit, how? Why is the div? Okay, shit, we didn't change the div. We changed everything. If we just apply this to the div, then shit, we don't see anything because these two None of them is in the div. So here, let's say to h1 and to p and save and cool. H1 and P, only these two have the specifications which we gave. Hello, Kakashi, how is it going? Yesterday I was struggling so much, so I think I should study CSS, and this also feels good. And one more thing that I like right now is LSP is working. Yesterday there was a lot of problems with LSP, but now LSP is working. And the cool thing about this is everything here is Microsoft somehow. This LSP is from Microsoft. Look at this. VS Code LSP language server. This is from Microsoft. And GitHub Copilot. This is also from Microsoft. So shit, they have their hands into some things. Okay. Uh cool. And this div and this h1 and p, they are inline. They are in no, they are block. Let's make a class dot container. Cool. And here we can give these two class container and this also. Wait, shit. This is vim. So we can give both of them the class at the same time. We can here say shit. Wait. We can here say class container and shit. I messed up somewhere. Hmm. Class key. I think it is because yeah, class container. Okay, cool. Yeah, like no change because makes sense. Now this is the thing that I'm going through right now. Please center the div. Okay. Let's try to center the div. Probably I can do this. Uh, but the bad thing is that we are getting LSP support, but we are not getting any errors from the LSP, which is a bit sad. Okay, class, nope. Shit, this is not tailwind. This is not tailwind. Class container inner inner and container cool color and this border 1 pixel, let's say 3 4 pixel solid black border radius 10 pixel and padding. Nope, we do not want padding. We would like those two things which we have, that is inner and this, to be in the center. Do not use empty rule sets. Okay, at least we are getting some error. And who is giving this error? We are getting CSS error, but I think it is CSS who is giving us not error but a warning. If I was to say this or like this, okay, we are getting error, but here unknown property, that is nice. Error, okay, error, we are getting errors. Cool. But here in HTML we are not getting any errors. That is a bit sad. Yep, no errors here. Maybe we have to save the file. No, no, we are just not getting any errors. Here we could use flexbox for this, but I do not want to. Copilot disable. Like legit, how to center a div, how to center a div. Also, how are you gonna make the chessboard and pieces? Probably, will you take an image or something for them? Mm, okay, yes, for the pieces themselves, I will take an image because I don't think it is possible for me to make a chess piece from the piece itself, the piece itself like this. How can I make this? There probably is some smart way, but nah, I will just take an image for this thing. And for the board itself, I think we can have two loops. Since the board itself is a 2 by 2 matrix, we can take two loops, um, in one outer and one inner, and it keep iterating and changing its color. It will start from white and then black, white, black, white, black, and it will just render a square. And I think we should use grid for that, but I will have to learn grid, what it means to be a grid. Bro, margin auto. Wait, what? And how will you move pieces? Like, what animation for moving pieces and killing? Yes, there is a way to track mouse position and also to see if the click, if I have clicked, like click. So if the mouse is inside a cell where there is a piece, and if the mouse is clicked, left click is clicked, then the piece will be removed from that square, and the piece will go wherever the mouse is moving till the mouse is clicked, the left click is clicked. And if the mouse, and when the left click is let go, then wherever the mouse is, if it is inside a valid square, then the piece will be dropped in that valid square and it will be registered as a move. Otherwise the piece will go back to its original square. I think that is a good hypothesis. Yep, animation would be cool. And castle, will it teleport? Yep. Nope, it will. Did you see Harkirat's video on making a chess website? What he did is that you have to click at your source square and you have to then click on your target square. There is no animation of picking up the piece and taking it to the right place. Should I think that is a puzzle? It is not starting. And okay, should there was. Yep, you can press X here to switch the pieces, and there was something that I saw. Right. Yes, press F. If you press F, this happens. That is cool animation. F. This only happens on like computer, of course. Okay, let's just solve this puzzle piece. Probably you already know the answer to this. Is this the rating? Okay. Bill White has to move. We have a check here, which can be stopped like this. Attack can be stopped multiple ways. And I am attacked, right? Go there, this, or this. Shit, I think this might be a bit too difficult. Kakashi, any like idea to this? And shit, this is stream is supposed to be CSS. Just 1 second. We got distracted a little bit. We will get back to margin auto in a bit. Uh, okay, shit, there is this check also. By the way, just saying. It can be stopped, but it can be taken advantage of. Check, stop like this or stop like this. However it is stopped, I can take that piece for free. A queen will take, my queen is here. My queen can also take. I think that might be shit. There is also this check, if check is the thing that we are going after. I think some sack maybe. Okay, queen h5. Yep, queen h5, but and sacrifice. What? Queen h5 can be blocked by this. Then I can come. Then the knight can come here. Then the other piece will take. Then my queen will attack again, and no one can stop. Knight move. Queen takes h6. Knight takes g6. Take no queen. Then knight takes g6 pawn. Trick attacking rook. Yep, that will be attacking the rook here. And if it takes, then I can take the rook. That makes sense. Okay, cool. Shit, that was it. That was it. Yep, I can take the rook. Cool. And back to HTML, HTML, HTML. Yep. And this is going to be white mode because this is how it was intended to be. Okay, margin here, the selector. Yes, there is this basic structure about CSS. We specify the selector, that is the how are we going to tell which element we are putting the style on, and we give the property name. Property is just like width, height, or something that you can change about the element, and value is just the new value of that property or whatever value you want to give. And this thing is a class selector. Main class, setting the width of a block. Setting the width of a block level element will prevent it from stretching out to the edge of its container to left and right. Then you can set the left and right margins to auto to horizontally center. Did that make sense? That makes sense. Okay, okay, okay. So we can here not the container, but inner thing. For the inner thing, we can say width, yes, auto, margin, auto. And what do we have? Shit. Okay. I guess 600 pixel. Not very helpful. I guess mouse up and mouse move event listener can be used for PC. Yep. For piece movement, we can use these. And why is your name Andrew Bahadur? Uh, and I6J5J. Inner thing has a width of shit. Maybe it is at the right place. INNER. Server is running. That is cool. Shit. Okay. Container and inner thing should have its own thing. Is it even updating? Okay, shit. This is not updating. That is the problem. Why is it not updating? Now it is updating. Cool. Now we can here, I think, say auto, not auto, I think fit content. Okay. Shit, this is still not updating. Cool. This is how you center a div. Cause, okay, shit. Wait. Okay, I didn't know this. People in Nepal have their name as Andrew. Andrew. That is crazy. Why not Tailwind? Writing CSS feels exhausting, but I want to get like my CSS good, and then I can move on to Tailwind. That would be cool. But I want to get good at CSS, so now I'm practicing CSS. Yeah, but I never knew this. That is cool. Thank you for telling me. Setting the width of a block will prevent it from stretching out. Makes sense. And the edges of its container to the left and right. Then you can set the left and right margins to auto to horizontally center that element within its container. Okay. The okay, if I don't know. I think wait, this is not automatically updating. So I think if we use npx 1x serve current, this should start working. It is working. And this is like legit not loading the CSS now. Okay, it is not loading the CSS. Styles.css. Uh, we are not seeing red. We are not even seeing the background. We are not seeing any CSS at all. Styles dot CSS. Styles dot CSS. If we save this, then nothing. Okay, we can go back to gracefully shutting down. Please wait. Okay, we can go back to one index.html. At least we are getting the CSS. How to serve HTML file locally with hot module reloading, so that it keeps updating. Wait, you know who gets more priority? Who? Class versus div versus inline versus style element. Wait, ID I think has more priority than class, and inline I think has the highest priority. Style element. Okay, these two things are in a separate file, so they have low priority. Inline has the highest priority, style element second highest, and then third highest goes to class and ID. And among class and ID has more priority than class, I think. Terminal. npx install browser sync start browser sync. Shit, I do not want to install this globally. Browser sync. Browser sync, and we are installing browser sync. That is cool. Cool. Browser sync serve start serve files with double command not found because we didn't download this globally. Shit. Browser sync start, and still we are not getting any css. Browser sync connected, but why are we not getting any css? Script source styles, nothing. Well, is it getting nothing? Okay. Then I guess we'll go back to using one index.html. At least we are getting this. Cool. And somehow we even get CSS. Cool. Okay, yes. What I wanted to do is increase the width of this thing more than fit content. Let's say 600 pixel, and then padding goes to auto or happens. Shit, I thought this will go in the center, but it is not going to the center. Padding auto. Okay, padding auto does not help. Okay. Margin auto does put the thing in the center, but padding auto does not put the content inside the container centrally. Okay. The edges, okay, the only problem occurs when the browser window is narrower than the width of your element. The browser resolves this by creating a horizontal scroll bar on the page. Let's improve the situation next. Okay, cool. Max width is this. Using max width instead of width in this situation will improve the browser's handling of the small windows, and this is important when making a site usable on mobile. Resizing this page, check it out. Okay, by the way, max width is supported by all major browsers, including these. Okay, so width fixes the width to be something, and max width says that if possible, make the width equal to this thing. Do not increase it beyond this, and below this, if the width of the browser is smaller than this, then make the width of the browser then make the width of the element equal to that, like however space is there. Inline has the highest, then id, class, and element. Shit, you said style element. Okay, by style element, I thought you meant inside the HTML, inside style tag. Actually, the style element is like for external and internal thing, and not come in this comparison. Okay, valid comparison is for is element selectors like body, and it gets lowest precedence. Yep, that is cool. Text center. So are you learning from basics? I thought you know this much. You have made some. Yes, I did made some projects, but I do not remember them correctly. And I like that is why I was like struggling a lot yesterday. I thought since I have already done some things in CSS, I do know CSS and I should know CSS, and CSS is very simple. But no, I don't. I just have to revise, and it is. I don't think anything bad to give some time to learning the basics, fundamentals clearly, because this is going to help me a lot. So that is cool. I did the same with competitive programming and I got good at competitive programming. I want to get good at front end. While we are talking about width, we should talk about width's big area, the box model. Yep, there's the box model. I saw yesterday a video. There was the box model. We have externally, we have what do we have? Shit, let's say this is our box. We have a lot of boxes. Let's say that this inner thing is content, red, red. This thing after content comes padding, then comes border, as in like BSF, and then lastly the margin. Margin, cool. That is just the box model. Cool. Hello. Uh, how do you find these types of website? Haha. I mean, I was asking ChatGPT, how do I get good at CSS? ChatGPT said CSS master resource. ChatGPT gave a few resources. This learn CSS layout, this website, learn CSS layout. Ask ChatGPT for like good resources. ChatGPT also gave me this book, CSS. Wait, shit, this is not the book. It also gave me a book. Let me show you the book, but the book is very long. The book is like actually very long, very big. Yeah, like 1100 pages of CSS. So I can read this in the background once I get good knowledge. And that is what I'm doing with C++. So wait, shit, everything is messed up. Yep, this is very long. This is like 1100 pages long. This is not meant to be read. CSS fundamentals, everything, selectors. There is a whole chapter on selectors. Starts at page number 21 and ends at page 53. That is like 30 pages. And I should not probably show this. This is illegal. Do you use fuzzy finder in Vim? Yep, I do. Crazy. Wait, 11. Yep, 1100 is actually crazy. But this is good. This is good. This is what I did with C++. I read the like C++ programming language by Björn Stroustrup. It was very good. And fuzzy finder is very cool. Live grep, I can grep. Inner. But I don't know shit since there is a node modules folder in this. This is also looking into that. And okay, there is also a thing. Let's say you by chance create a folder. Shit, touch. Shit. What if you create a folder whose name is slash? Shit. Think I can create this using Vim. Sh- How do we create a folder whose name is slash, like divide slash? because shit, we should be able to create a folder with this name. Create a file on a file or folder, anything. Shit, I cannot create a folder or a file because if you do create it, how are you going to delete it? Like rmrf slash, that is not very good. Shit, I think there are guardrails. You cannot create make dir for folder, touch for file. File exists. There is nothing. Um, what if I say file name equals slash? Okay, echo file name. Okay, we do have a variable whose name is this. If I do touch to create a file, and here I give file name. Okay, shit, it is reading the inner value, but operation not permitted. We cannot create a thing like this. We cannot create a file with this name. Yep. And this is saying it already exists. Okay, we cannot do it in Mac. Till now, I didn't knew touch could also get. No, touch cannot create folders. Touch cannot create folders. I misspoke. Touch is for files. Yeah, this is a file. Touch is for files. Uh, and live grep. Yep, cool. And yeah, this is cool. Okay, back to this. This looks cool. The box model, while we are talking about width, we should talk about width. Big caveat. The box model, when you set the width of an element, the element can actually appear bigger than what you set. The element's border and padding will stretch out the element beyond the specified width. Look at the following example, where two elements with the same width value end up different sizes in the result. Here width is this, margin is this. Margin is outside the element, so it does not count. But here width is 500, here also width is 500, margin outside the element. And should I think the first thing is horizontal and second is vertical, or first is vertical or second is horizontal, like this. Margin auto, but we have padding and border width also. Simple fancy. With that is like a bit too big. The width of this thing is 500. The width of this thing is 500 plus 100 because 50-50 on both sides, and 20, 620. Okay. For generations, the solution to this problem has been extra maths. CSS authors have always just written a smaller width value than what they want, subtracting out the padding and border. Thankfully, you don't have to do that anymore. Okay. What do we do? Box sizing, yes. Yep, these kind of things, like what is this? What is this? Is this a variable? What is this? The original box model behavior was eventually considered unintuitive, so a new CSS property called box sizing was created. When you set box sizing border box on an element, the padding and border of that element no longer increase its width. Here is the same example as the previous page, but box sizing border box on both elements. And we have somehow, like, apart from box sizing, we have Mozilla, Mozilla box sizing, and WebKit box sizing, border box, water box. So now the padding and the border grow into the element from outside. The width is fixed, padding and border grow inside. And I think these two more properties that we have here. These are for specific browsers, I think. Yep, that is very sad, but it would be cool if you could do that. Those are for multiple browser files. Multiple, yep, multiple files, multiple browsers. Right. Uh, these wars are these, but like this box sizing properties should be used by other browsers also. Why is it not available for some browsers? If that is what is, if that is why we are giving different properties here. What are these for? Do all browsers not support box sizing property? Good question. This is a relic from the evolutionary history of CSS. Shit, we wouldn't know. We have not read that 1100 page book. This is called vendor prefixed properties. Let's break it down. Okay. What is box sizing? We know what is box sizing. Like, we are very intelligent. We saw it. Okay. Now what is box sizing? Box sizing controls how the browser calculates the size of an element. There are two main modules: content box default, where the actual width is width plus padding plus border, and yep, or box size where the things grow internally. Cool. What are WebKit and Moz? These are vendor prefixes. Back when browsers were implementing new CSS features, they were unsure about the final spec, implemented experimental versions, unused prefixed properties to avoid breaking the web later. WebKit used by Safari, Chrome, early mobile browsers. Oh, okay, older versions of Chrome, and Mozilla used by Firefox. So at the time you needed this and this because standard box sizing wasn't fully supported yet. Okay, so Mozilla and WebKit, they wanted to introduce box sizing property on their own, but they were afraid that if they just name the property box sizing, maybe later on it might conflict with some other CSS property later on. So they added a prefix of their own so that it does not mess up with actual CSS properties. Do modern browsers need this? Nope. Every modern browser supports the standard now. That is cool. Okay, shit. Then how old is this website? That is crazy. Okay, we can safely write this while you still see prefixes in code. To reason, old CSS frameworks, auto prefixes, tools that automatically add vendor prefixes. Vendor prefixes are transitional mechanism. A time when CSS was unstable. Browser competing with partially implemented features. No, so they were like they wanted to add features very very quickly, so they added the features with their own name before them so that when the actual feature comes out, and if the definition of the actual feature is a bit different from the one that they have implemented, they can also add the actual feature later on with the correct name and still have this one. So yeah, they don't have to debug their own feature. Cool. Okay, cool. But we don't have to care about it right now. It is, it was different, but now it is cool. Box sizing, hooray. Since this is so much better, some authors want all elements on their page to always work this way. Such authors put the following CSS on their page. Select everything, all selector, and put this. We don't have to use these two. We can just work with this one. This ensures that all elements are always sized in this more intuitive way. Since box sizing is pretty new. Okay, shit, this website is actually old. creativecommons.org. When was this created? Is there something we can see? Okay, if you want to like read this in Dutch, Italian, this SPNOL. So this website is old. Since this technique enables experimental features in specific browsers, also keep in mind that this one is IE 8 plus. Can I use box sizing? Hey, this is cool. Can I use.com? 26 January. Can I use box sizing? And box sizing, what is this telling us? On Chrome, we can I what is this? Chrome 4 to 9 support info browser version. Okay, I think this is telling us Chrome 1 146 to 148 are these versions of Chrome. Opera Mini does use this. Okay, these are all the browsers and they use box sizing property. This one CSS 3 property box sizing border box. It is not supported by Opera 10 to 12.1, but it is supported by later versions 15 to 124 and 125. Okay, this is a cool website. This is a cool website. Box sizing. Can I use.com? That is cool. Can I use.com? Damn. But I still see a lot of people use these prefixes. I thought these are needed to make the project responsive and compatible to all browsers. But it seems like now we can use box sizing with all the browsers unless you are using IE browser. Test on IE 6.7. Shit, browser stack. Wait, shit. Don't tell me we can run a browser on a website. Sign up. I will have to sign up. Yes, I do have. I do not have a business email, but see, let's see if this works. Okay, this is working, I think. Okay, shit. We can. Okay, inside my browser, I can run a browser. That is something. Shit, that is actually good. Okay, not just a browser. Shit. This is a whole operating system. Okay, look at this. We have a whole operating system. Shit, that is actually crazy. Let me see about this Mac. How much? Okay, this is not even taking a lot of power. OBS is the one taking the most. Help. Shit, that is actually. Can I watch my stream on this? It would be actually crazy if I can. And I don't think there is any problem. Okay. Shit, I am live. Shit, this is actually crazy. This is live.browserstack.com. Shit, we are finding a lot of cool websites. This one, live.browserstack.com and caniuse.com. This is cool. This is very cool. This is very cool. Shit. Shit. Go to home. What else? Switch browser. Okay, let's use. We can use legit anything, whatever you want. This is very good. Yeah. Uh, what is your main goal for using the exploration? Okay, and what do we want? macOS Tao. This might be shit. Tao takes quite a bit of CPU power. Opera. Let's use Opera. Shit. Where is Opera? Opera. Okay, what do we want to do? Let's do monkey type on this. It, so inside my browser, there is an operating system which is running another browser. That is a lot of layering. But I don't think this whole operating system is running on my browser. I think what is happening is this operating system is running somewhere on the back end, somewhere, and I'm just getting this video, and only my mouse click and button clicks are going to the server to calculate what should be shown right now. Oh, shit, okay, okay, accept all, and we will have to buy if you want to do more here. But this was actually cool. This one was pretty cool. Install. Okay, shit, we can run another one. That is cool. That is cool. Windows. Mm, I can only run this. Let's see. Monkey type or type racer. Let's see how this goes. Okay. Let's see. Some have a positive vocation. There is a lag, like, yes. Okay, yeah, cool. This is cool. This is cool. Can I use.com and browserstack.com. Pretty cool. Okay, back to this. Next. Okay, and I also want to just in case write. No, I don't have to take like notes or stuff because the whole content is here. Margin auto makes sense. We saw that. Max width makes sense. Box sizing, box model position is the next thing. Okay, cool. In order to make more complex layouts, we need to discuss the position property. It has a bunch of possible values and their names make no sense and are impossible to remember. Let's go through them one by one, but maybe you should bookmark this page too. Maybe static default position. And what is this? Static is the default view. An element with position is static is not positioned in any special way. A static element is said to be not positioned, and an element with its position set to anything else is said to be positioned. The first paragraph, the first line makes sense. Static is the default view. An element with position is static is not positioned in any special way. It is positioned in the normal way. Okay, and a static element is said to be not positioned, and an element with its position set to anything else is said to be positioned. Okay, so a static element is said to be not positioned. This is not positioned, and anything else is called positioned. Relative, relative, position, relative, top, left, width, background, and stuff. We can use this here. Let's first of all, like, I want to center this thing. How do I center the content inside a div which has higher width? I think content, align content. Shit, we are also getting this. Aligns, flex containers lines within. We don't want lines. Aligns flex items along the main axis, which is horizontal. Center. Okay, shit. The server is off. Shit. Okay. Auto. Is auto even a thing? Right does right work, or do we have to say flex. I think we have to say flex. Uh, display flex, and now it does work. Center, and it does not work because we have to rerun the server. Cool. And if also we say position relative and top -10 pixels. Okay, it does go up. Cool. Relative. Relative behaves the same as static unless you add some extra properties. Setting the top, right, bottom, and left properties of a relatively positioned element will cause it to be adjusted away from its normal position. Other content will not be adjusted to fit into any gap left by the element. That is cool. That is cool. Relative positions the element relative to its normal position. Position is sticky. Yep, it will come. Shit. Sticky will come. Yes. Wait, sticky is not here. Hmm. There are some amazing YouTube channels which cover these things. There is Slay the Dragon. This one. Shit, no. This is a movie. Slay the Dragon. This one. This is pretty cool. Subscribed. All. This channel only has 30 videos and these are very cool videos. And I think there is also a channel called Coder 20 or something like that. Code G20. Yep, this one coding to go. This channel is also very cool, but this one has more videos. Cool. Bro, Googling blocking my shit. Google is blocking your comments. Okay, I think you might be leaking. Okay, your comments are retracted. Okay, fixed. And hello, that's why long time no see. A fixed element is positioned relative to the viewport, the window, which means it always stays in the same place even if the page is scrolled. That is how we did the black and white page. Yeah, the dark mode and light mode button on the bottom of the screen yesterday. As with relative, top, right, bottom, and left properties are used. I'm sure you have noticed that fixed elements in the lower right corner of the page. I'm giving you permission to pay attention to it now. Here is the CSS that puts it there. All this. And shit, there is something that I have to do. Content. It is source button components UI theme button, and in this theme button this div, if I make this and attr does not exist, okay, there is an attribute tag. Shit. No, there is no attribute tag, it seems. There is a tag which Shit, attribute is not a tag. Attribute, what is a tag? What leaking? Sticky. Okay. There's there is a tag which we can. I was I saw a tag yesterday in a video. There is a tag. HTML tag to give our text like this. This thing is built with that tag. Here we see on hovering search by voice. Title, nope. ABBR. Abbreviation, ABBR. With a small a. Okay, abbreviation. And I think it is the title that we give. Yep. Toggle theme. And if I start this server, run white, and by the way, Jordan B. Peterson, run white, close 5173, and if we hover, shit, if we hover, toggle theme, we do see toggle theme. We do have to wait for quite a bit, but it does show up toggle theme. And this globe is very cool. Let's also add an at abbreviation to the globe. This outer tag, abbreviation, and title, globe. Run white, restart, and we see globe. We do see globe. That is very cool. We do see globe. Like the tooltip. Yep, tooltip hover and we see stuff. So this is, I think we should add this to all the buttons that we will have on our website. And is there going to be any other difference apart from there being a title abbreviation tag? Can I just swap all my div tags with abbreviation tag to give our text on all the buttons I might be using? Are there some side effects to this? Question mark. Nope. Okay, shit. Do not replace div with abbreviation. That is abusing HTML syntax. And yes, there are the real side effects. Okay, let's dissect what is abbreviation actually for. Means abbreviation. Example, this thing. Title, WHO, World Health Organization. Okay, it tells the browser and associative tech. This word is abbreviation. The full is this. That's semantic meaning. HTML tags are not just visual containers. They describe what something is. What happens if you replace div with abbreviation? You break semantics. Div is generic, neutral, meaningless container. An abbreviation is inline. We can change that. Specifically represents an abbreviation meant for short textual content. If you swap them, you are telling screen readers and search engines, accessibility tools, that every container on your page is an abbreviation. That is a false information. Real side effects: it changes display behavior. By default, this is block, this is inline, so your layout will break and you are fighting the browser. Accessibility gets worse, and this problem can be fixed. Display change, accessibility gets worse. Screen readers may announce abbreviations differently. Okay, shit. For I don't think blind people will play chess, but maybe now imagine every button and container behaving like this. That is confusing. Okay, it is semantically wrong. Okay, like ChatGPT is giving a moral argument to not replace all the divs with abbreviation. If your goal is hover on text buttons, you have proper option. Option A, use title. Delete the file. Simple, works everywhere. Native tooltip. Okay, shit. Button also has this. Substitute ABBR with button, button white, closed, and what do we have? Okay, toggle theme is still there. That is cool for buttons. Bigger picture, final verdict. Do not do this. Okay, you not then. Learn CSS. Okay, fixed. Okay, yep, for the button. Absolute is the trickiest position. Absolute behaves like fixed. Absolute behaves like fixed except relative to the nearest positioned ancestor instead of relative to the viewport. Behaves like fixed if an absolutely positioned element has no positioned ancestors. It uses the document body and still moves along with page scrolling. It uses the document body and still moves along with page scrolling. Remember, a position element is anything that does not have a static property. Here is a simple example. Relative. This is class relative. This one is relative width and height, and then absolute position, absolute right 0 top width. Okay, absolute positions itself relative to the nearest positioned ancestor. If an absolutely position, if there is no ancestor with no positioned ancestor, if no ancestor has position is positioned, then it uses the document body and it still moves along with the page scrolling. Yeah, this stuff is tricky, but it is essential to creating great CSS layouts. On the next page we will discuss position in a more practical example. Let's go. And should we had a okay, that is fixed. That is fixed. If you use a fixed header or footer, make sure there is room for it. I put a margin bottom on the body. This position stuff might make a little more sense in a practical example. Below is a realistic page layout. We have a container, position, relative, nav, a nav bar. Wait, this is, wait, nav is an actual tag. Navigation tag. Shit, that is cool. Navigation tag. And okay, what do we have? Navigation tag. Left 0 puts it on the left. Width is 200. Position absolute. Section position is static by default. Margin left 200 for section, this section. 200, which is equal to the width of the nav bar of this nav, and all of this is inside container. And footer, this footer, position fixed, bottom 0, left 0, height 700 pixel, 70 pixel, background color white, and width 100%. Cool. And then body bottom, margin bottom 120, which is more than height of this. Okay, okay, that's cool. This example works. The margin left style for sections makes sure there is room for the nav. Otherwise, the absolute and static elements would overlap. Yep, they would, and lorem ipsum. And notice what happens when you resize your browser. It works nicely. Yes, it does. except if it gets a bit too small. This works nicely. Margin left, because okay, margin left. This example works because the container is taller than the nav. If it wasn't, the nav would overflow outside its container. In the coming pages, we will discuss other layout techniques that have different pros and cons. Because container is bigger. Okay. Latin shit, because okay, shit. Convert this Latin into English. You cannot. Okay, this actually was converted into English. Lorem ipsum dolor sit amet something there is no, and it was said at times, unless the lorem ipsum hatred, the pain of life of the thermalicula. Okay, there is some stuff. Keep it in Latin, float. Another CSS property used for layout is float. I don't know what is float. Float is intended for wrapping text around images like this. Okay, float right, margin this, margin top. Yeah, there is a hierarchy. MDN, let's, yeah, we should start reading from MDN for things that we do not know. Yep, this. Okay, if I increase this, which one increases? The bottom one. 0 pixel, 1 pixel, 10 pixel. Margin is increasing. 2 pixels, 200 pixel. Okay, shit. So this margin is the leftmost margin, it seems. If I increase this, okay, this is top. This is like both left and right at the same time, and this is bottom. Okay, top, left, right, and bottom, like horizontal, top, horizontal, bottom. And if we have four, then this is still top, is top, right, then this should be bottom, this is bottom, and this is left. Okay, top, right, bottom, left. Cool. And like, what does float do? It does this. What is this? Okay, they just move on to the next one. Okay, what is float? Let's have an image in our website, like in our test example website. Tmx attach and one. This is still running. Okay, cool. Float, MD, CSS, float. A floating element is one where the computed value of float is none. The float CSS property places an element on the left or right side of its container, allowing text and inline elements to wrap around it. The element is removed from the normal flow of the page, though still remaining a part of the flow. Okay, and the options we can give is left, right, and inline start, left, right, Inline start. What is the difference between inline start and other one? Left, the element must float on the left side of its container. The element must float on the right side of its container. None, none, nothing. The element must float on the start side of its container, that is the left side, with LTR scripts, and the right side with RTL scripts. Okay, that is something else. I don't know. Okay, let's put a image. Which image? We will take some image from some cool movie. Any movie suggestions? Just to give some movie suggestions. I'll put an image from that movie and some dialogue, like a script. Let's use from Godfather. Godfather is cool. Or maybe shit, The Leftovers. Leftovers is not a movie, but it is a series. A cool one. Some cool dialogue from this, let's say here. Copy image address. Download the image here. Cool move. Screenshot. Shit, this was a screenshot uploaded by someone. Crazy. And this will be called kevin.png inside index html. We will inside this, let's say, have another div, and inside the div we will have an image source, not inside assets, it is like right here, kevin.png, and some text. I want you to understand, which is a very cool dialogue from this series. And do we see it? Not yet. We have to restart the server, and we do. And the text comes afterwards, but the image is like a bit too big. And the image is a bit too big. Height, let's say 100 pixels, and width, let's say 150 pixels. Okay, so that is now not how we do this. We have to do it from here. Height 200 pixels, let's say width also 200. Okay, and shit, we have to restart the server. Cool. The aspect ratio is not quite right, but okay. Phone is going to die. We'll make this float. What the image? Does this work? This does work. Float left, cool. And if we do float right, cool. This goes to the right, and text it is at the top. Cool. That is pretty cool. And the phone is still not charging. Cool, it is charging, and cool. This, okay, float done. Next, clear. The clear property is important for controlling the behavior of floats. Compare these two examples. Section div class box float left the box, and width this, height is this, margin is 1 em. In this case, the section element is actually after the div. Yep, it is after the div, it is not inside the div. It's actually after the div. However, since the div is floated to the left, this is what happens. The text in the section is floated around the div, and the section surrounds the whole thing. What if we wanted the section to actually appear after the floated element? Like this. Okay. Okay, something happened here. This div has property float left, and they said that when we use float, it goes out of the normal rendering part. Yep. So the section element is actually after the div. However, since the float is to the left, this is what happens. The text inside in the section is floated around the div, even though the section is after the div, and the section surrounds the whole thing. What if we wanted the section to actually appear afterwards? If we wanted that, then we do clear left. Using clear, we now moved this section below down the float. You use the left to clear elements floated to the left. You can also use right and both to clear. Okay, what is clear property? Then a clear CSS property sets whether an element must be moved below cleared floating elements that preceded. The clear property applies to floating and non-floating elements. Okay, this thing floating none, then okay, it is like this: left and right floating elements. If left, this just goes around the left floating element, and if this, then right floating element. Okay, cool, cool, clear. So this is like a very specific thing. Clear. Okay, next, what is this? Clear flex. Image float right like this. Oh no, this image is taller than the element containing it, and it's floated, so it is overflowing outside of the container. Makes sense. How do we fix this? There is a way to fix this. It is ugly, but it is called clear fix hack. Let's try it. Clear fix is a class, and overflow property is auto. What does this mean? Much better. Let's see what happens. This works for modern browsers. If you want to support IE6, I guess it's some Internet Explorer 6. Okay, you will want to add the following. Zoom in. Overflow is auto. What does overflow does? Overflow module properties enable you to handle scrollable. Something is overflowing, then auto. What are the values this can have? Guides. Overflow. CSS overflow. What are the values this can have? Overflow happens when the content in an element box extends past one or more of the box's edges. Scrollable overflow. Clip. Select clip and see the effect. Okay, play. Right. Overflow visible. Okay. Auto just hides. Okay, auto just does some auto stuff. Visible, we are able to see it. Scroll, scroll, left scroll and right scroll. And clip, clip. What does clip do? Clip, like clips. Okay, clip is something. Overflow clip margin. Overlay. Overlay or clip if not supported. Okay. Overflow does some things. These are exotic browsers. We don't need to read about exotic browsers. Layout, float layout example. It is very common to do entire layouts using float. Here is the same layout we did with position earlier, but using float instead. Float left, the nav on the float, and section margin left, this much. And I don't think we had to give this margin left. This would have worked, I think. This example works just like the last one. Notice we put a clear fix on the container. It is not needed in this example, but it would be if nav was no longer than the was no longer than the non floated content. And or some cool. Float example done. Then percent width. Percent is a measurement unit relative to the containing block. PERCENT. Relative measurement unit relative to the container block. It's great for images. Here we make an image that is always 50% of the width of its container. Yes, shit, yes, this percent way of telling the width. But yeah, this website does not seem very good. Try, but we will go through the whole thing anyways. Try shrinking down page to see what happens. Percentage. Nothing happens. Article image. Nope, nothing happens. Percentage width. You can use percentage for layout. Section is 25%. Margin left, float left, width is 25%. Okay, makes sense. Width is 25% of this whole container thing. And yep, it does decrease. This thing always is 25%. Yep, cool. Media queries, yep. Responsive design is the strategy of making a site that responds to the browser and device that it is being shown on by looking awesome. No matter what, media queries are the most powerful tool for doing this. Let's take our layout that uses percent width and have it display in one column when the browser is too small to fit the menu on the sidebar. What do we have? Media minimum width. If this thing is true, then do this. But if this thing is true, if minimum width is this, so when the width is 600 or greater, then do this stuff. But if the width is 599 or smaller than that, then do this. Like this should make these things in line. Okay, that is cool. That is cool. Make these things in line. Responsive design. Ta-da! Now our layout looks great even on mobile browsers. Here are some popular sites that use media queries this way. There is a whole lot more you can detect. And this, go to the ancient docs. You can make your layout look even better on mobile using Meta Viewport. Meta Viewport is something. Okay, we are on to inline block. Inline block is something you can create a grid of boxes that fills the browser and width and wraps nicely. Okay, I'm like, yeah, you can create a grid of boxes that fills the browser width and wraps nicely. This has been possible for a long time using float, but now inline block is even easier. Inline block elements are like inline elements, but they can have a width and height. Let's look at examples of both approaches. The hard way using float. Outer box left, float dot box left. I am using clear, so I don't float next to the above boxes. But here we just give box to these things. Display inline block. Okay, and it works. You can achieve the same effect using inline block value on the display property. And the other one does not have to use clear. Okay, inline block layout. Wait on. Okay, you can also use inline block for layouts. There are a few things to keep in mind. Inline block elements are affected by the vertical align property, which you probably want set up to top. You need to set the width of each column. Wait, inline block elements are affected by the vertical align property. What? Yeah, this website is not comprehensive because it is telling about some. Okay, because this is about layout. Shit, makes sense. Makes sense. This is about layout. Hello. Shit, I do remember you. You were here a few days ago. Yep. Repeat the free and paid responses to learn DSA and CP. Okay, for CP and DSA, you need two things. You need a theory, a place to look up theory, and a place for problems. So for problems, you can go to this thing, CB31. This is pretty cool. You can start solving problems of lower rating, starting from 800 and keep going up. And also need code sheet. This or sheet, or wait, he has a roadmap. You can solve this. These two things are there. You can use for problems. This and this for problems, and for theory there are a few YouTube channels. Wait, leaderboard. Let's go 256, 254. For theory, there is CP handbook. This is pretty cool. CP handbook. Noted. Let's go. And there is intro to algorithms. This book, CLRS. And this you don't have to read this as a novel from starting to finish, but you can use this for specific problems, and you can either get a PDF like this, or this is probably available in most colleges, so you can also find this in your college library. Yep, that would be it. There are some YouTube channels you can look up. One is Erecto, dash under it, Erecto. This one, this is pretty cool. Erecto. I lag at implementation. Solution for that. Just solve problems then. If you lag at implementation, then you just solve problems. Like, yes, solve a lot of problems. You will get good at implementation. And if you want to find problems for a specific um, types, then you can go to cses.fi, this website, and go to problem set. Here are problems for specific sites for of specific types, like dynamic programming, graph problems, sorting, searching. You can solve these. Like, if you want to practice something specifically, like I did, dynamic programming, graphs, and stuff. This is cool. Colon// ccs.fi, and what? And I just able to find the brute force. Okay, um so the problem is not with implementation, it is with theory. When you look at a question or a problem, when you look at a problem, you have to find out a like algorithm, or you could say it, think. You have to think out the solution, algorithm slash solution. You have to think something, and then when you have come up with a solution, you have to write it down. That is the implementation part. So the fact that you only find brute force, the problem is with algorithms and solution, the theory part. And if you can find theory, like think of a theory which is cool, which works, then you have to implement it, write it in actual code. So you are like ChatGPT? No, but thank you. Yep. Then you can implement the thing once you have figured out what to do. And there is one more thing, like actually Reddit CS guide. There was a post on Reddit, a guide to competitive programming. This one, this is actually a good thing, and I would recommend go through this, read this whole thing, and he resources a lot of things. Hehe. Yep. Go through this and read this. This is pretty cool. He suggests videos of people, William Lin, and he also talked about Eric Tho. This is cool. At Coders, and also on Code Forces, you can go to catalogs. And here, how to read a problem by Umnik. This is another article you should read, I think. These are cool things, right? Yeah. And do not try to move too fast, just one step at a time. Cool. It is loading. There is a thing. I was not lying. There is a thing here. It will come up. Shit, it is not loading, but it is there. How to come up with solutions. This might be helpful. Okay, there is some problem with code forces. I usually find the code forces UI complicated as I am used to none but lead code. Code forces can be complicated, like, yep, but if you spend more time on this, it will start making sense. This just has new announcements, and on your profile you have your settings, blogs, stuff. And for contests, like shit, when I was solving my first problem, I didn't know like what to do, how to submit a problem, so that was difficult to figure out. Which is better, lead code or code forces? I would say if you are going to do DSA, then you should do competitive programming, because this is like this is much more than just DSA. Competitive programming, code forces doesn't just make you good at DSA. This makes you good as a programmer, because there is a timer going on during a contest. You have a timer on your side, and you have to solve the problem, not like in 30 minutes, 40 minutes. You have to solve the problem now, so you have to be fully focused. In lead code, you can just uh, read the problem and come up with a solution whenever you want, but in competitive programming, in a contest, you have to find out the solution right now. So it teaches you how to focus, which is pretty cool. And oops, yep,
You want to know how
it takes you through all the emotions of life in like 2-3 hours during a contest. Same, I don't even know how to submit, so I'll just close the side in code forces. Shit. I used flex and it worked. Wait, oh, for what? Eh, Uh, for a contest, like find a problem. Or yes, this is another thing. Problem set. You can go here. Okay, code forces does mess up sometimes. Can go to a problem, read it, and go to submit. Either you can submit, choose file, that is one thing, but that is not generally recommended because you have to go to your finder, find the file, and upload it. Instead of that, you can just copy paste your code here, click on submit, and paste your code, select your compiler, and you are done. Nothing else. He's talking about the CSS. Yep, shit. Uh, flex for centering a div. Shit, I want to get better at CSS. And yes, one more thing, if you like want some advice, I would say is the same thing that I'm doing with CSS right now. I thought CSS is somehow beneath me, that I have become good and I don't need to read about CSS. But yesterday I got my ass kicked trying to do something. Okay, for this, instead of float, you used flex. Okay. So be humble and accept if you do not understand something, then accept that you do not understand that thing and actually go and read about it and get better. I think my free tier is over. Let me meet after the 12:20 a.m. Wait, what? Shit, don't get the reference, but cool. Okay, inline block. Yep, this is completely about layout. 3 columns. There is a new set of CSS properties that let you easily make multiple column text have a look multiple, or we could use grid. Okay, shit, this website is old. This website is old. So I'm revising my plan and I will watch a bunch of YouTube videos. What is this? Opera. A bunch of YouTube videos to get started. Right. And then look at this guts. And then on the side, on the back end, or like we can keep reading this like 5 to 10 pages every day. That would be cool. And yep, I created board. Now I need to handle piece. Okay, shit, that is cool. Shit, you are like actually done with it. Okay, I also want to do this now. Okay, I also want to do this. Okay, let's create a board. Shit. Okay, let's create a board. Mm, mm, okay, we will need JavaScript. Script.js here. Const, let's say board equals not this. This is going to be a list of lists. Yep, we will have first rook, knight, pawn, empty, empty. Copilot is actually cool. Okay, we have the board. Now we have to iterate over this board. And yes, we will use like base stuff here. Let's see. Bear this. Okay, first of all, we have to at least import this. Wait, shit, I think we were not getting CSS there because this should be style, not script. So if I now do npx serve this and closed 3. Okay, shit, we are still not getting CSS. Styles.css was loaded, then what is the problem? Styles.css, source is styles.css. How to add CSS file in HTML? External file. Link. Okay, shit, this is the syntax. Rel style sheet. And do we do not have the style. We do have the style. Cool. Cool. Okay. Script.js what is differ this boolean attribute is set to indicate to a browser that the script is meant to be executed after the document has been parsed. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, actually, I guess that is why we put this here. Okay, let's have here a div with id equals board. Script.js is this going console.log board. Do we see something? Yes, we do. Cool. So script is being loaded. We just have to create the board now. No, document.get element by id board. Okay, we have the board element and copilot disable tool, disable copilot and for let row in board for let piece of row create a div. Yep. Square would be equal to dot create element. Okay, what does it take? Create element. Sure, we can go to like actually mdn refs. I think. How do we go to create element JavaScript? What is it taken? Tag name. Let's create a span. Okay, we have a span and square dot inner html inner html property html property of the interface gets or inner text will be equal to is. Okay, so we have a square and also how do we give CSS client height offset to element from JS. Select the thing, then style dot style dot height equals 100 Shit, this has to be a string, I think. Const side equals 100 pixels. Side and square dot side dot width equals side. Okay, I think this should be good. And also let color equals and true, and if color, then square dot style dot background color equals white, else background color would become black. Okay, and color equals not. Like this doesn't do anything. Color equals not color. Okay, and also text style dot color equals black here, uh, white. Okay, and we have to put this. We have to put this where do we put this? Okay, let's also here create const row, or C row would be document dot create element. We will get a div, and okay, here C row dot insert append child. What is the child? Square. Not here. Square does not exist here. Okay. Right, and then board dot append child current row. Okay, that looks good. That looks good. Okay, and what do we have here? We don't have anything here. Get element by ID board. Board element. Shit, board element, not board. Board element dot append, and shit, nothing. Okay. Okay, we don't see anything. Hello, look at this. We are creating a board using plain uh, JavaScript, CSS, and index.html. Back to basics, fundamentals. Append child. This should be working, but this is not working. Inner text equals hi. Are we able to do anything? Okay, we do see hi. Append child. Why are we not able to append child? Console.log hi. Hi, okay. This does go 64 times. That is cool. You want to use AI in military? USA wants to use AI in military? Okay. Anthropic denied. OpenAI accepted. Shit, they are. Are they desperate? OpenAI people, they need money. Sam Altman was asking for like trillions of dollars to do his thing. Shit, military, AI and military, World War III. Okay, this line is running, the console.log line is running 64 times, which is exactly what we want, but nothing else. Okay, we create a square, which we are appending here. Okay, if we do, let's say div equals document dot create element, we get a div, and we do div dot inner text equals I, and we put that div inside this board element. We do see high, we do see high. So why don't we see row append child, which is appending the square? Square dot inner text is equal to something, because it is a span or something. Let's make this thing also a div. Okay, okay, that is something. But why does this not work with a span? Shit. Wait, no. No, this is fine. This. We get a square. We do everything we should do with a square. Style dot color black, white, black, white, black, white. Append child C row, and every row is a div. Display equals inline. Okay, and again we don't see anything now. Mass surveillance. I guess the stuff is there. We're just not seeing it. Okay, everything is like just there. We are just not seeing it. Height 100 pixel, display inline, background white, color black. Okay, why are we not seeing that? Let's do something to this row before adding. C row dot content width, fit content. No. Mm, and if there is just he is there, just in case. Side 100 pixel. Wait, shit, maybe this is not getting red. 100 px, 100 pixels. Nope, it is cool. Height and width both are 100 pixels. Cool. We do this, we do see the elements. Board. We have a row. Inside each row, we have this background color white, color COLOR, color black. That is right, COLOR color. Then why don't we see the inner text? I guess now we should see. We do not see the inner text still. Nope. Text is empty. Inner text is empty somehow. Okay, shit. Cool, cool. Now there is some inner text. That is much better. Okay. We need to center this inner text. Square dot style dot display equals flex and style dot justify items equals justify center, justify content equals center, and style align items is also center. And okay, things are in the center now. That is cool. That is cool. This is a div. We would like this to be a span. If this is a span, okay, shit, things are here. Cool. Row dot style dot not flex, style dot display equals, make the display flex here, style dot flex row, flex direction. Okay, white, black, white, black, white, black, white, black, then black. Okay, we just have to change the colors and we are good. Hello, how is everything going on? Cool. And we are almost like, look at this, look at this. Const dark equals black and light is white. And in this, please substitute this white, this with light, and in the same range, substitute this black, this with dark. Okay, still cool. And start color was equal to color, whatever it was. And yep, what should be the color after this? Opposite of start color. color equals not start color. And what do we have? Cool, that is much better. More like a chess thing. You could use row index plus column index mod to determine color. Wait, row index plus column index mod to determine color. This is 0 0, let's say. Shade that is true. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, that is cool. That is cool. We don't need this. We don't need this. We don't need, where is color? No, yeah. We don't need color. If shit, but I do not have index. I'm using this. So I could, instead of index of here, use in for this in this. Yep, cool. And where is row? For row here, board row, not of, but in piece. Where is piece? Piece would be row, column, row here, column, and if row plus column and width 1. If it is odd, this thing we want it to be white. So this would be false. So if odd, then these colors. If not odd, then these colors. And what do we have now? Refresh and shit. Okay, there's a mistake in here, I guess. Then row plus column. Okay. Yep, 0 1, then 1 0. This one is 1 0, which is odd. So we do the background dark and the color light, but that is not what we get here. Why? Shit, because these are strings. These numbers are strings. Okay. And cool. Now it is cool. Right. Yep. Back to the very basics. Consider color equals uh yep, black or white. This is how I handle mod operator. I mean, and is like the same thing, bitwise and. If uh this number is if this number is 0, if the first bit is 1, then this will give 1, which means odd, and if it is false, then it means that the number is even. Cool, we do have a board. We would like to change the color of this to match a little bit of chess.com professional stuff. Color picker, pick from screen. Shit, not yet, not yet. Wait. This color. Cool. The code is this for the dark side. And for the light, this is light. Cool. That is more like chess.com. That is more like chess.com. And can we replace the pieces with these? Would be cool. Would be cool. Can we even have pieces here? Like this looks cool. This looks cool. Let's center this thing. How do we center this div? The wait, no. Board element dot style dot margin equals auto. That should have centered this thing horizontally, but no. Yes, we also have to do element dot style dot width equals width content. And cool. Let's give a margin board element dot style dot margin top left right is an overall margin of 20 pixels, maybe. Shit. Margin auto and then margin auto. Yes, and this does not make sense. Margin top. We gave margin auto and then we gave margin equals 20. That messed stuff up. And cool. This looks cool. We do have a chessboard. Hello world. We will call this sharp, which is chess. Cool. And what else can we do? We can replace these uh, numbers, these characters, not numbers, with the actual pieces. Can we get the actual pieces? How long has it been? 2 hours, 30 minutes. Let's see if I can. SVG, yep. We will find some SVG for the pieces. SVG for chesscom pieces. If they provide it themselves. That is cool. Shit, that is a lot. We do not have the pieces though. We just have the logo. Nope, we do not have the pieces. Would be cool to get chess.com pieces. Okay, let's see, use these basic ones. Copy image address pieces and will install here. What is the name of this? This is black king dot svg dot png. Okay. I think we have to manually do this whole thing. Do we manually have to do this? I guess. Yeah, let's for now, instead of assigning the correct pieces, let's have the white king for all the white pieces and the black king for all the black pieces. And also, I think this should be white. I think this should be white. Nope, it is correct. It is correct. Remove this thing to white king dot svg dot png. Script dot js. Okay. Now instead of inner text equal to this, we need to create an svg. White svg equals we have no, this is png. cd piece. We are inside pieces. Open black king. And is this svg? This is svg. This looks like svg. Cool. And why are you using JS for CSS? Adding CSS styles because I'm here. JS is needed to do this stuff. Is it needed? I could define like this first of all, like this is not a full-blown project, this is just fun stuff. But one more thing I could do here is define a class here which represents the thing that I want, and using JS, when I'm creating these elements, add that class here for to the element, to the correct element. Yes, direct svg code would be cool, right? How do I get direct svg code? Okay, maybe this view in browser. I said, yep, yep, this thing. I could copy this, or I think this might also work. It is plain. This is not svg. Let me download this manually somewhere. Languages, shit. This is, I think, Black King. This is Black King. Dot svg, cool. Shit, it was White King. This is Black King. White King. And here, but we have the whole document. How do we create this? if I just put this as text, I think this would just go in as text. Let's see. Let's see if this thing equals svg. What do we have? Yes, this just goes in as text. Okay, thank you. SVG is here though. If you need to adjust based on size, why not use MDLC provided by Tailwind or whatever it is equivalent? In this is not Tailwind. I'm not using Tailwind right now. This is plain CSS. Mm. One thing we could do is we could add this SVG directly into the HTML and have its property, style property, equal to um, hidden true, or wait, we can do display equal to none, and in our JavaScript use ID to get the thing and put it wherever we want. That would be one thing we could do. Let's say ID equals, this was, let's say, black king ek, and style display none, right? And we also need the white king. ID white king, style display none, and in our JS we can have const white king equals and document dot get element dot get element by ID white king. No, we don't need the inner text. That's fine. Black king. Okay, and here um, if row equals 0 or row equals 0 or 1. The 0 or 1 I think represents the top row. We should have square dot append child black king. Yep. And else if row equals 6 or 7, append white king. What do we have? We have nothing. That's cool. If need, wait, my link got, yeah, you cannot send links here. It has all SVGs. Make an object. Wait, what do you mean make an object? Would are you using LLM or something, or do you have dyslexia? Because how the fuck is it possible that every time you only understand up to a certain point and don't care to read the rest of wait, of the context into matter? Do you have a certain limit of tokens? Wait for this, or okay, me, are you okay? Shit, what were you saying? You were saying something, I guess. I didn't read. My bad. SVGs are not here. SVGs are not here. And object which refer to all SVG we can use with key. That would be Cool. Yep. 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 That would be cool. Talking about shit. Okay. I guess I'm not funny. I guess it is not that you don't read, even that have been fine. It's that you lose the context immediately. Yes, blackout, total blackout. And yes, we can use an object where we can use the keys to get the SVG, but to get the SVG as the value, that is the tricky part. How did you get the SVG as the value in JavaScript? I had to add the SVG directly here and put a ID like this, and like using ID get the SVG here and then put it. But how did you do it? It is like total blackout. It happens sometimes. Hmm. Dot append child black king white king, but it does not work. Okay, is it ever coming here? Console.log black console.log white. Okay, we are getting white and black 16 times each, which is correct. Hmm. Get element by ID. We should be getting element by ID. White king, black king. Black king ID, white king ID. If we put these two directly on the board element dot append child white king, black king. Okay, we still do not see any. Yep, inside this one there is nothing. Okay, shit. Yes. Board. Yep, we don't see anything. The SVG is not here. Append child WK, and that is not working. Get element by ID. Are we getting the element by ID? How do we see? Console.log white king. Console. Okay, I think that is good enough. SVG hash WK. I think that is how an SVG looks like. Yeah. Shit, you are working actually hard. I think you can wait. I think you can create a new txt file and store SVG in it. But is right, I can store the SVG, but in what format? I can either store it as a string. I cannot store it as a HTML element. How do I store an SVG as an HTML element? That is the problem. Wait, you uploaded it. You uploaded the SVGs in the repo as an object, but as what object? Like here, this. If I copy this and put some variable v equals this, it has to go either like inside a string, or how does it make sense to put this as an object? I don't get it. Like how? And for the link, you can like send your repo name and like your name and slash repo name. I will add github.com on my own, store it as a component. Shit, that is the thing, right? If I were using React, I would be able to do this. I'm not using React. I'm using basic stuff here. That would actually be very simpler to store this as a component. Do we have the white king? This SVG ID white king. Shit. Okay. Okay. I get the problem. The problem is we are getting the elements and we are also appending the elements. Everything is working correctly. There is no problem with anything else, except the only problem is since here in the HTML, I added display equal to none so that these do not show up in the HTML at unexpected places. But when I have gotten them, I must change their display. Shit. Wait, can I copy? That would be cool. Because if I do change the display of these elements, I would see in my HTML also these test elements, which are and these test SVGs, which I have added in the body at the top. So how to copy HTML element in JS? How do we copy HTML elements in JS? Yes, where I thought you were using it for the main chess game. Right now, this is no React. This is just 4 files, and one of them isn't even being used. This is styles, JavaScript, and index.html. Nothing else. Basic new thing. Okay. Shit. Shit. That is quite a lot of stuff. Chess utils. Wait, you just created this. Swift chess? Shit. Wait, 3 weeks ago, what were you doing here? Wait. Swift chess. Chess.utils function board from fen. Fen is a string record string. Okay, get the piece. Cool. If there is a piece, then file equals string. Get a string from A to H. Okay, these comments are cool. Comments are cool. Square would be okay. File. Okay, file as in file and rank. Okay, cool. Color. Piece dot color. Okay, piece is more complicated than a simple thing. New chess. Okay, you have your own chess object. Chess. Okay, shit. You are using chess.js. Okay, cool. Chess.js. Type piece. Make it uppercase. Pond and w pawn and okay. Pieces square. Pieces return pieces. You initialized pieces. Shit, and the format that you are using here is the chess.js format, and their format is kind of crazy. Chess.js format is crazy. They use strings to show stuff. Wait, was see the documentation? Yep, this is how their board looks. They use a simple string. Yep, like this. Empty, 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 and then white something. Legal moves. Ah, okay, where is the like juice? This is for practice stuff. Inside pages, it is vibe coded. Yeah, SVGs are inside pages. Yep. If this was React, this is what I would do. But there is no React. I cannot store the thing in plain HTML as an object. That is what I was thinking. In plain JavaScript without React, I cannot store the thing as an object. That is the like downside of this. But it is cool. It is cool. Yep. How to copy. Clone. Shit. Clone node. Original. Original dot clone node. Okay, shit. That is cool. True. Mistakes in Boolean. Deep copy. Okay, shit. And now we need to change properties on these things. WK dot style dot display, make the display block, and bk dot style display block. And now I think if we refresh, we do see two things at least. We do see two things. Okay, okay. Row 6 or 7. Row 6 or 7. Row 6 or 7. Or row 1 or 2. I think some scope problem is there. Mm, okay, no scope problem. Then why are we not able to add these things all the time? Or shit, we were going inside 16 times. So that is cool. We were going inside 16 times. Then what is the problem? I think this and nothing else. SVG cannot store as a string and a uh, square dot inner ht. No, shit. That might actually work instead of inner text, inner HTML. Shit, that might actually work. Thank you for the suggestion. Let's see. This might actually work. If I do here, let's say const test or white king string equals wks white king string, and here instead of this inner HTML equals black king string, and here inner HTML equals white king string. We also need black king string const black king string bks equals that might that does work. Shit, that is crazy. Okay, inner HTML does work. Inner HTML does work. Inner HTML does work. So why was it not working before? Why is the string format working, but not the other one? This one. Why is this not working? Okay, shit. This is working. Cool. If you want to change this to this, then instead of inner HTML, we have to say append child, and in that append child, we give this append child. Okay, why does this not work with append child, but does work with inner HTML? Inner HTML idea is cool. Inner HTML is cool. The span is legit empty. In all these cases also, span is empty, except for this one. Inside the span, we do have the SVG, but in other cases, we do not have the SVG. Why don't we have the SVG? Okay, we can also change the width and height, by the way. 60, 60. Here also substitute, substitute, substitute 45, 45 with 60 globally. And here, let's say, shit, inner HTML was cool. Inner HTML was like actually cool. Read the text as HTML. Cool. Hmm. They now have some sort of offset. Substitute 60 with 45 globally and do the same shit. Substitute 60 with 45 globally, and we can give here style equals something and width equals 60 pixels, let's say, and height equals 60 pixels. Does this work? This does not work, but okay, cool. That was okay. Now store all the pieces SVG inside object and use it. Might become, let's see. Yep. Inside some other file, we can use them, and yeah, cool. Cool. This was cool. And now I would like to like end the stream. This has been cool. Cool practice making the chessboard on our own. This was cool. And also nice to meet you from Nepal. Hello, I never knew. Uh, shit, but also there was a lot of political turmoil in Nepal. How is everything now? Shit, how is everything there now? Up in the north, king in the north. Before ending, I would do a little bit of Wordle. If you are still here, that would be cool. It is not my. Okay, shit. Okay, shit. Uh, wait, your real name was on GitHub. Your real name is Rajan. Hello, Rajan. And how is the political condition in Nepal? Shit, Gambia. Senegal is the only neighbor of Gambia. Like, yep. Capital of Gambia. Banjul. Banjul. Flag, no idea. This is not the flag. This is Nigeria, I think. Maybe, I don't know. But, okay, shit, that was nice, I guess. Facts. Which one of these facts is true about the Gambia? Top 20 in world. Was definitely not a part of USSR, member of Commonwealth. Maybe, yeah, member of Commonwealth, British. The Gambia has become a popular winter destination for European visitors who come for specialized holidays along the river. Specialized dash holidays. Skiing, winter skiing. There is no bird watch. Should they just go there for bird watching? 1982 to 1989, the Gambia entered a short-lived political union with Senegal known as the Dash Confederation. Senegambia. Okay, makes sense. Because Senegal and Gambia. Cool. Hello. All great. Election coming up. Yo, let's go. That is cool. And what do we have? Image. Which of these images is from Gambia? Maybe this. Okay, shit. And can you guess the place which we just saw here? What is this place? The name of this place? This is not a fort. This is a gate. Gate. Dam. Gate. Some sort of gate. Not a cathedral. Raguta. Last guess. National capital of Cuba. Certainly not Cuba. Arch 22 might be this. This is an arch. This is like India Gate. This is an arch. So maybe. And this site, by the way, looks like from Nepal. This place. Okay, arch could be. Okay, it is cool. National emblem. Okay, shit. This one and this one, they look very close to this one and this one. No idea. Shit, this is certainly Korea, but Gambia. Shit, okay, this was Gambia. Okay, this is Egypt. That is Iraq. Now, languages. English. No idea about the language. Okay, and maybe. Oh, shit. Okay, that was a fluke. That was actually a fluke. What should I learn apart from DSA? Web development? You should learn web development if you are getting into something like that because it just opens up quite a bit of things. That is why I am learning web development. Learn CSS, layout. Just okay. GDP, yeah, is quite low. Get 24-hour access. Shit. Loading. Population of Gambia. 1 million? Shit, 2 million. That is a lot of people in a small place. The last C, okay. Foremost populous cities. Banjul, the capital. Pakau, maybe. No idea, just guessing. Okay, shit. Banjul is the third most populous city. And which has larger surface area. Cabo Verde or the Gambia? The Gambia, I think. Yes. Like, look at this. Cool. That would be it for today, for today's stream. Yep, that would be it for today's stream, and thank you for being here. Bye.